You walk into a bar, the light is warm, the air is thick with the scent of malt and the low hum of conversation. Then you see it, the menu. Beer, ale, lager, stout, IPA, porter. To most people, it's just a list of drinks to quench a thirst, but to a brewer, it's a map of history. Yet somewhere between those printed names lies a quiet, lingering confusion. Beer versus ale. Two words we toss around as if they mean the exact same thing. But are they? Are they just different names for the same golden liquid? Or are they two branches of something much older, much deeper? Today, we're going to trace their roots, uncover the hidden science, and taste the story behind the foam. We're pouring ourselves a mystery. Why beer and ale are not the same thing, and what makes each of them unique.
Hey, I'm Edward. Grab a seat and let's pour this story together.
Think of beer as a big family, centuries old, sprawling with branches, cousins, and distant relatives who all share the same ancient roots. Inside that family tree, two siblings stand at the very top of the house, ale and lager. So yes, every ale you drink is a beer, but not every beer you order is an ale. Some belong to the cooler, crisper side of the family, the lagers. It's a bit like language. Beer is the common word we all use in conversation, but ale and lager, those are the dialects shaped by time, temperature, and tradition. Under those two, you'll find all the familiar names: IPA, porter, stout, pilsner, or bock, each with its own secret story to tell. But to truly understand why they look and taste so different, you have to meet the smallest, most powerful character in this whole story: yeast. The living engine that decides whether your beer will be bright and crisp or dark and bold. The difference between ale and lager isn't really about colour or even strength. It all begins with something microscopic yet very much alive: yeast. Yeast is more than just an ingredient. It's a living organism, a tiny brewer that turns sugar into alcohol, bubbles, and flavour. If you're drinking an ale, you're tasting the work of Saccharomyces cerevisiae, what brewers call top-fermenting yeast. It loves the warmth, thriving around 15 to 24 degrees Celsius. As it works, it rises to the surface, creating those bold aromas and rich, fruity layers that make ales so expressive. Because it's warm and energetic, the magic happens fast, sometimes in just a single week.
Lagers, on the other hand, rely on Saccharomyces pastorianus, a bottom-fermenting yeast.
It prefers the cold, quiet depths, working best around 7 to 13 degrees Celsius. Slow, patient, and calm, it settles at the bottom of the tank for weeks, sometimes even months. And that very patience is what gives your lager its signature clean, crisp taste. Warm and expressive, cool and clean. That is the heartbeat that separates the two. If yeast is the soul of beer, then flavour is its voice, and ale and lager speak very different languages. Because ale ferments warm and fast, it's full of esters, those aromatic compounds that whisper notes of apple, pear, banana, or even clove. Brewers call them the perfume of fermentation. That's why ales often feel layered and alive, like a vibrant conversation of flavours happening right on your tongue. Fruity, spicy, and sometimes a little wild. Lagers, chilled and patient, take the opposite approach. The cold suppresses those esters, allowing the malt and hops to step forward and shine. The result? A beer that's clean, crisp, and balanced, refreshing without shouting for attention. Some brewers say drinking a lager is like listening to silence. You only realize how delicate it is when nothing else gets in the way. Ales are warm, expressive, and bold, the storyteller by the fire. Lagers are cool, subtle, and calm, the quiet friend you reach for on a hot afternoon. Long before we called it beer, humans were already brewing something like it, cloudy, sweet, and wild. Ale is ancient, one of civilization's earliest crafts. Thousands of years ago, the Sumerians and Egyptians fermented grains not just for a drink, but to purify water and preserve life. Later, in the stone-walled abbeys of medieval Europe, monks perfected the craft. They were, in a way, the first brewing scientists, carefully noting the ratios of grain and the passage of time. Lager, by contrast, was a revelation born from the cold. In 15th century Bavaria, brewers discovered that storing beer in cool mountain caves for months gave it a smoother, cleaner taste. They called this process lagern, meaning to store. But the real revolution came in 1873. An engineer named Carl von Linde pioneered artificial refrigeration, allowing lager to escape the mountain caves and conquer the world. From Budweiser in America to Heineken in Holland and Corona in Mexico, these are all children of that original Bavarian idea. As industry scaled up, lager became the beer of factories, festivals, and global friendships, light and reliable.
If ale remained the storyteller of the old world, lager became the anthem of the modern one.
Here's where most people get tripped up. When someone says, "I just want a beer," they usually mean a lager. Cold, light, and easy. That's not wrong, but it's not the whole picture. Ale is beer too. Over time, especially in American culture, beer became shorthand for lager. Why? Because for decades, that's all you could find, thanks to big brands and post-war marketing that sold the idea cold equals better. Another misconception, ales are heavy, lagers are light. But remember, colour doesn't mean strength. Some dark ales are surprisingly gentle, while some pale lagers can knock you off your stool. A Doppelbock lager can hit 8%, while a session ale barely reaches 4%. So the next time you hear someone order just a beer, you'll know it's not about strong or weak, dark or pale. It's about philosophy. Lagers are patient and precise. Ales are bold and spontaneous. One speaks softly, the other sings.
You've learned a lot today. But have you ever wondered why we clink our glasses?
Long before we knew the chemistry of yeast, the act of cheers was a gesture of survival. In ancient Rome and Greece, it was a way to prove the drink wasn't poisoned, a literal gesture of trust. In medieval Europe, warriors slammed their mugs so hard that the ale would splash between them, a symbolic blending of loyalty. Today, that small clink completes the 5 senses of drinking: sight, smell, taste, touch, and finally, sound. That single note of glass on glass tells your brain the experience has begun. Today, walk into any supermarket and you'll see it. Rows of golden bottles, all bearing familiar names: Budweiser, Heineken, Corona. Lagers dominate the modern world. Light, crisp, and endlessly drinkable, they've become the universal language of refreshment, the beer of festivals, barbecues, and Friday nights. Every autumn, at Munich's Oktoberfest, millions raise their mugs of pale lager, the Helles, to celebrate not just beer, but togetherness. Lager became the drink of the crowd, the shared taste of joy. Ales, however, followed a different destiny. In the late 20th century, as brewing became industrial and standardized, a quiet rebellion began: the craft beer revolution. From small garages in California to back-alley pubs in London, independent brewers revived ancient recipes, experimenting with hops, fruits, coffee, and even chocolate. IPAs, stout, and hazy New Englands, all born from that creative spark. In today's world, ale has become the canvas for imagination, a statement of individuality. It's the beer for people who don't just drink, they explore. If lagers are the beer of gatherings, ales are the beer of ideas. Both are reflections of who we are and how we celebrate life. Most people just drink. I want you to investigate. Before you take that first sip, apply the 10-second rule. This isn't about counting time, it's a 10-second pause to verify if you're holding a true craft or just a marketing illusion. In those 10 seconds, do 3 things. First, check the lace. Take a sip and look at the foam. A real ale, or a high-quality lager, leaves Belgian lace, thick white streaks that cling to the glass. If the glass stays clean like water, it's a sign of cheap additives. Second, test the clarity. Hold it to the light. A lager must be crystal clear. If it's cloudy, it's old. But if an ale is hazy, it's often a sign of fresh, expensive hops. Finally, feel the pulse. Wrap your palm around the glass. If it's ice cold, wait. Real flavor, especially in ales, wakes up at 10 degrees Celsius. If they serve it freezing, they might be hiding a bad brew. In just 10 seconds, you've moved from a consumer to a connoisseur. You aren't just drinking, you are decoding the craft. In the end, whether you reach for a crisp, patient lager or a bold, expressive ale, remember that you aren't just drinking a beverage, you are tasting 300 years of history, the magic of yeast, and the simple beauty of fire and grain. If this journey through the beer family tree gave you a new perspective, please subscribe and hit the bell to join our next investigation. And if you have a friend who still thinks beer is just one thing, share this video with them. Let's raise the bar of our conversations together. I want to hear from you in the comments. Are you a fan of the quiet silence of a perfect lager, or do you prefer the vibrant story of a craft ale? Tell us what simple thing you'd like us to decode next. We might just feature your idea in our next episode.
Thanks for watching, and remember, even the most common things have a story if you only look closer. This is QC Project Simple Things.